Hello everyone, welcome back to my channel where we talk about all things related to the Black Hills of South Dakota. So today I'm going to give you my top 5 pros of living in the Black Hills and the top 5 cons of living in the Black Hills. So you can weigh those for yourself and see which ones are more important to you. So let's go ahead and start with the positive because, everybody wants to hear what's great, right? So I would say the landscape and the scenery is like our number one positive. There is nowhere you can probably look and see a bad scenery. So a lot of people who come from the other areas of the country, they complain about, oh, it's nothing but flat desert, it's nothing but cornfields, it's this, it's that. And I will tell you, within a 2-hour drive, actually, let's go to the center of Rapid City. Within an hour south or an hour north, you're gonna see some of the most diverse landscapes of anywhere in the United States. The Southern Hills is super cliffy and rocky. You can look at areas like the Needles Highway. You'll see Mount Rushmore just outside of there. You'll see Crazy Horse. So there's a lot of big, large rock formations, more in the Southern Hills. Now, coming back in towards Spearfish, you're gonna see a lot of Black Hills. And the reason they were called that is when people were coming this way, it was so dense with trees that the hills looked black, hence the name, the Black Hills. So you're gonna see a lot of trees. There's a lot of houses that are in there that you're never even gonna know are up in there because they're just hidden so well. And driving through Spearfish Canyon, you're gonna see the mountain goats, which are super, super fun to watch. And up towards like Rapid City, Southern Hills, you're gonna see a lot of bighorn sheep. We do have a lot of elk in the area. We have a lot of mule deer, a lot of antelope or pronghorn. I'm gonna save that debate for another day. But there's just a lot of wildlife that you'll get to experience living here in the Black Hills with a short drive. Now, if you kind of go a little bit further north, like where I live in Belle, Fourche, we are just right at the foothills of the Black Hills. So we are a lot more plains, a lot of rolling hills. We have Ormond Dam over here. And so we have a lot of different diversity up towards the northern part of the Black Hills as well. And the Black Hills also dips into Wyoming, which, hey, there's my cat. Remember in that last video where I told you once in a while, you're gonna see my animals pop in from time to time? There she is to say hello. Anyways, sorry. You're gonna find that there's just a lot of diversity. And like I said, the Black Hills is gonna pop over there into Wyoming as well, which I don't know if you're watching this video, when you're watching this video, but I'm either about to be licensed or am licensed in the state of Wyoming. So depending on when you're watching this, you'll have to check with me if that's where you wanna be buying your next home. If I'm not there yet, I'll find someone who is to help you. Okay, pro number 2. We are talking a strong community feel. You will find in this area, if anything happens, let's say your house burned down, which is horribly tragic, but unfortunately we've seen it happen a couple times this year, so that's why I'm bringing that example up. The entire community is going to come together. They're gonna make sure that you are clothed. They're gonna make sure you are fed. They're gonna make sure you have a place to stay. They're gonna make sure that you are completely taken care of until you are back on your feet. And that is something that you just don't see a lot of the times in these bigger cities. And it doesn't matter what community you're in the Black Hills, you're going to find that community, especially when you come to these smaller towns. And it doesn't matter if you're an outsider who moved here a year ago. It doesn't matter if you've lived here your entire life. The community is gonna come together and be your biggest support system. And that is why I chose to come back and raise my family here, because I've realized that every community, while they have their downfalls, there's things that they have that it's truly remarkable. And that's one of the things in these areas that I'm seeing. So we're seeing this from anyone diagnosed with cancer, car accidents, you name it, the community is gonna step up and they're gonna make sure that you're taken care of. And for me, that was one of the biggest things that I loved about this community. Affordable cost of living. You're gonna hear me say time and time again, that's a touchy subject because what's affordable for one may not be affordable for another. Anything today, in my opinion, is truly not affordable. But we are ranked lower than most of the United States. We are not the cheapest place to live by any means, and that's being driven up by our landscape and our scenery and everything people just want to move here. And so unfortunately, it's driving up house prices more and more each day. But getting in now is really important, because the more people find out about us, the more they're going to be moving here, which means the more equity you're going to build if you take advantage of that today versus waiting 3 years from now. Number 4 is low crime rates, which, I mean, crime is relative. Crime is going to happen everywhere. But when you live in a smaller community, it very rarely ever happens. And if it is, it's going to be like some dumb punk high school kid like me, where I would go get the broom off of one neighbor's porch and go put it on the other. I know, I would be so mad at myself today, but that was the kind of stuff we did to keep ourselves preoccupied, because when I was growing up, there wasn't a ton to do here. And now that's completely changed. We have all kinds of things to do to keep kids active. So we are seeing less and less of that, but there's always going to be crime no matter where you live. You can check the crime index reports to see that we actually are a pretty safe community overall. And a lot of people come here for that reason. I know a lot of people are coming from these bigger cities and bigger states that they're being soft on crime, and that's just not the case here. Our police force is amazing. I know a lot of them personally, especially here in Belle, South Dakota. Most of our police officers are actually coaches on our soccer teams. So it's great to get to know them and see them being super active in our community. And they're truly passionate about our community. They want it to be a safe place. They are raising their kids here too. So we can see that they are really taking crime serious here. And for that reason, we just don't see a lot of it. Number 5, and I'll be truthfully honest with you, I've never lived in a state that has state income tax, but apparently that's a thing and a lot of people don't like it. And I can understand why. We actually have no state income tax here. So we don't have to pay any of that at the end of the year, which I think is really, really awesome. Relatively, I think our property taxes are still super affordable, as well as getting our vehicles licensed. I know a lot of people try to say, well, you got to make up for it somewhere. Because we're a state that relies heavily on tourism, I think that's how our state budget is able to keep everything under control. So we don't have to do a state income tax. Actually, the state of South Dakota had a surplus this year. And so it's interesting to see how they're planning on using that surplus. They are planning on cutting some taxes because of it. I know that, but I'm not 100% sure what has been voted into office, because at this point of making this video, they're passing a lot of legislation right now. So I don't want to misspeak, but I know we are in a surplus, and I'm interested to see what we're going to do with those extra funds and how they're going to come back to the people of South Dakota. Okay, well, we talked through all of the pros. Let's go through some of the cons. And one of the biggest cons that we hear from people moving from out of state or a lot of these larger markets is our job opportunities. And that's true. They are a little bit harder to find around here. And that's just because we don't have the population. We do see a lot more industry coming to the area. So I don't think that's going to be an issue for very long. But for the meantime, I always recommend my clients find some work before they move here, because it can be a little bit stressful. So if you need any ideas on where to go, where to look, who's hiring, who's not hiring, I would love to answer those questions for you. My cell phone is open to anybody. My cell phone number, personal cell phone number, 605-759-0808. You can just call and pick my brain about jobs that are available here in this area. It does not have to be housing related. I'm here to make sure that this is going to be a good fit for you. And if we find out that there is absolutely zero jobs in your industry, then it doesn't make any sense for me to sell you a house. So I would rather talk to you about that on the forefront than you struggle to find a position that's going to suit you and your family's needs, and then you're not able to go. But what I will say is a lot of people who call here, and I just talked to the Department of Labor, and they said that their biggest hurdle is people calling in saying that they need to make $50 an hour. I'm going to debunk that real quick and go off on a little tangent. A lot of people think they need to make $50 an hour because they have to cover state income tax. They have to cover an extreme amount for property taxes, and that's just not the case here. So instead of coming in with a specific hourly wage in mind, what we need to look at is what's available in your industry, how much they're paying, and would that support your family's lifestyle with your current housing payment, property taxes. Again, no state income tax, so you don't have to worry about that. And then of course we have sales tax. So those are just a few things that you need to consider instead of just saying, hey, I need to make $250,000 a year, or I need to make $50 an hour, because that could be very different here than what it was like for where you're moving from. Number 2, we are going to talk about weather extremes. So South Dakota experiences all 4 seasons, and sometimes we experience all 4 seasons in one day. I'm serious. So just to give you a little bit of insight, we saw where it was negative 10 degrees, and then it would jump up to 50 degrees, and then it would be 9 degrees, and then it would be 35. And I tell you what, if you see when we had a negative temperature of, let's say, negative 40 degrees, and then the following week it's 30 degrees up, you're going to see people out in shorts and t-shirts. And I know we look weird and we look like there's something wrong with us, but after you've been through that big of an extreme, 30 degrees actually feels really pleasant. In hindsight, when I lived in Florida, 30 degrees down there, I was bundling up, had to wear my big heavy coat, I had to wear my knee-high boots. Like, I was so cold at 30 degrees in Florida versus 30 degrees in South Dakota. It's just a very different environment. So I know I'm going to get a lot of flack for this, but as a real estate agent, I think it's important, if you haven't come here to experience what it's like all 4 seasons, it might be in your best interest to look at either buying a house that you can fix up and flip in case you don't like the area, or 2, seeing if we can find a rental to make sure this is a right fit for you. Rentals are scarce here, but I will say it would be better to either do that or consider buying a fixer-upper that you could flip and make some money off if it's not a good fit for you, than for you to buy a brand new construction that has very little room for growth and equity over the next year or 2 if you find out that this isn't a good fit for you. And you never know, maybe you'll find out it's the perfect fit and you end up retiring here like a lot of people do. I just like to make sure that my clients have all of their bases covered so that just in case the weather is too cold for you, you either 1, can afford a vacation house in Florida to get away, or 2, you can have some other options just in case. Number 3 on the list of cons is remote location. And I hate to say it, but this could be a pro or a con depending on who you are. But some people who are coming from big areas, they're like, wait, what? The closest Costco is how many hours away? Yes, our closest Costco is probably 6 hours away. We just don't have a ton of options. We do have a Sam's Club in Rapid City, but no Costco. And that's actually a big bummer for me too. We do, of course, have shipping options. Costco will ship to you. There's Thrive Market, which is a shipping option. But what I will say is we actually have a few little local mom and pop health food stores. So no, we don't have Trader Joe's, but we do have Breadroot Co-op in Rapid, and we have a health food store in Spearfish. It's right there on Main Street, one of the most beautiful health food stores that we have in the area, and they have awesome acai bowls. I don't even know if I pronounced that right because I'm a girl from the Midwest, but I will say they're really yummy. So we do have a lot of options for that, even though we are remote. We also have sports teams in the area. And so we have our hockey team over in Rapid City, and then we also have indoor football. And don't shoot me, I'm not a huge fan of football, but I sure love watching indoor football. It's actually one of my favorite things. We went to a game last season and it was just amazing. And now I'm like, okay, I'm kind of addicted now and I want to go to more games. But that's what we have in this area. Anything else that you're wanting as far as like big city vibes? So we're talking IKEA, Costco, things like that. You have the option to go to Sioux Falls, which is 6 hours to the eastern side of the state. And Interstate 90 runs from Rapid City all the way to Sioux Falls. Or you can jump down to Denver, which is what a lot of families will do if they're kind of needing that fix of bigger city or they want some of those things. I've seen one of my friends in Rapid. It was so sweet. Her mom has since passed, but her mom and her sisters, they would always take trips down to Denver and just do all the shopping and all the fun things. And we just see a lot of people doing that. So you'll see a lot of girls' trips going down to Denver for the weekend. Might see the guys fly out to Vegas because we have Allegiant Airlines, which has a direct flight to Vegas. It will also go straight to Phoenix, Arizona, and they are now operating going straight to Orlando and straight to LAX. So we do have some options to get away for a super affordable price and still be able to live that small town lifestyle that so many of us love so dearly. Last but not least, number 5 on the cons is wildlife encounters. And again, this could be a pro or a con depending on who you are. when you're driving through Spearfish Canyon, you are going to most likely see the mountain goats, and they are adorable. In the spring, they have little babies. Last year, one of the mamas had twins, and it was so cute to see the little twins going behind her. Up in the southern hills, you're going to see more bighorn sheep. Actually, I shouldn't even say southern hills because Deadwood has a big population of bighorn sheep that you'll see. So as you're coming around the curve going into Deadwood, you will often see bighorn sheep. As a matter of fact, my husband and I were driving back through Deadwood after attending a nonprofit event, and there was a sheep on the side of the road. And we were like, what are those kids looking at? And then we kind of came around the corner and we were like, holy cow, the sheep was literally 2 feet from where our car was driving. So you're going to see a lot of wildlife. I will tell you, they're just be smart. Like, I'm sorry, I'm trying to be politically correct here, but don't pet the fluffy cows, okay? You're not going to walk up to a buffalo and pet it and not be that tourist that somebody made t-shirts about that says don't pet the fluffy cow. Don't walk up like you're going to pet a bighorn sheep. It's not like a sheep at a farm where you can walk up and say, hi, how are you, buddy? They're probably going to hit you. That's just how it is. They're wild animals. So don't pet them, but look at them from a distance. And if you look on my husband's Instagram account, Selchert, you will see some of the wildlife that's in this area. And he has been able to capture some of the most beautiful creatures that we have available. But I will say, stay away, stay a good distance, and just enjoy them from afar. Okay, that rounds out my top 5 pros and cons about living in the Black Hills and why it may or may not be a good place for you to relocate and raise your family. So if you have any specific questions, or you just want to know a little bit more, or you want to just pick my brain about anything that I didn't cover on this video, my cell phone is always open. It's 605-759-0808. If I don't answer the phone when you call, because let's be honest, realtors get a lot of telemarketing calls, please leave me a message or shoot me a text saying, hey, you want to call and chat, and we'll make sure that there's a good time so that I can talk to you personally and help you decide whether this is a good area for you to come. Until next time, I hope you have a fabulous day, and don't forget to go check out eric.selchert on Instagram and see some of those beautiful pictures for yourself.